So much for who is writing this class. Finally, how logistically will the course work? The main difference between CSW 186 and a typical Berkeley EECS course is just what you're experiencing right now. The lectures are not in person, the lectures are online. Otherwise, the course is pretty traditional. So because the lectures are online, they'll follow a format that seems to work pretty well online. They're 3 to 5 minute videos. We're going to post them on edX. Each video is followed by an online quick check, which is just a little quiz. You don't have to take it if you don't want to. It's really there just to reinforce the basic understanding of the material, to make sure that you're staying awake and that you haven't spaced out while you're watching a video. We just sort of pause every 3 to 5 minutes and distill the information, make sure you're following along. Otherwise, as I say, things are largely quite standard. Discussion sections are available in person as with a normal course. Worksheets for the discussion sections will be online on edX in advance of discussion. So if you don't go to discussion, you can look at the worksheets. I encourage you to go to discussion, and you can go once, you can go twice, you can go 0 times. It's entirely up to you. And as I said, both the TAs and the professors will have standard office hours posted. The main sources of information for this class, most importantly, the Piazza discussion group. You really are responsible to keep up to date with Piazza. You should check it daily to make sure that you catch any important announcements. Because there's no in-person classes, there's no other way for us to get in touch with you folks than Piazza. And so you really are responsible to go there, read the pinned posts, and I encourage you also to browse the questions being asked by your fellow students. There is a course website, cs186berkeley.net, and it has basic information like the calendar, which has sections and office hours, the syllabus for the class, and a variety of frequently asked questions. The course website is mostly static content. We don't expect to update it a lot. Dynamic announcements will show up on Piazza. And then if you're watching this video, you probably know the course content is on edX. That's the video lectures corresponding to the slides, the quick check exercises, and the mandatory weekly vitamins. That's something you have to do to assess understanding. All this info should be linked on the website. So the workload for this class, there is weekly lecture style work that you have to do. You should watch the videos on a weekly basis. The quick checks that go along with the videos are optional. The vitamins are required and will be part of your grade. We will drop your 2 lowest vitamin scores, so you can afford to miss 2 of them, but try to save those for later in the semester when you really need to skip the vitamins. On the whole, though, I recommend you try to do all of them just to stay up to pace. There will be 5 programming homeworks that will be done individually, and we'll talk about those on the next slide. 2 midterm exams and 1 final exam. The schedule for the homeworks and the exams should be on the website as well as on Piazza. Please check there to find out dates, times, and locations and get them in your calendar. Homeworks for this class have a real-world focus. We're going to try to make sure that you learn both how to use database systems and how to build pieces of database systems as well and how they fit together. So we'll start by having you use PostgreSQL, which is a very full-featured standard open-source database. And you'll write SQL queries over PostgreSQL, both basic SQL queries, but also some more sophisticated analytics queries. We're going to have you looking at some baseball statistics and trying to figure out how to get information out of that. We'll also have you building pieces of a DBMS. This is a Java-oriented or Java-based system that we've designed here at Berkeley for teaching. You'll learn about B+ tree indexes. You'll have to implement those. You'll implement a variety of join algorithms. You will implement a dynamic programming query optimizer, which is actually a rather sophisticated piece of software. And you'll also implement a concurrency control protocol, 2-phase locking, which again is going to be relatively complex. In terms of cheating, I guess all I can say is we have 0 tolerance for cheating in this class. It is not a cool thing to do. Just don't do it. We have the technology to discover copying. It's very easy to do even if you do things like try to obfuscate your copying in your code. So simply don't cheat. I know that most folks who take this class don't want to cheat, even those who do cheat. Most of you are good folks. And what I've seen in my experience as an instructor over many years is that when students do fall into the trap of cheating, it's usually because they're under enormous stress. Stress of many classes, stress of overloaded schedule, stress of family and life impeding on doing your academics well. And I guess the best thing I can advise you is to try to plan ahead so that you can minimize the workload stress and not find yourself in a box where you're running out of time and you feel the need to cut corners. To help with that, we've built in some safety valves in this class. So you can drop 2 of your vitamins, as we talked about. We will drop 2 of your vitamin scores, the lowest 2, and keep only the best ones. On the homeworks, you will be given a budget of slip days, or really slip minutes. It's 3 days worth of slip minutes that you can apply across your homeworks. And let me encourage you to not use those till you really need them. So it's not a good idea to spend your slip minutes early in the semester because you're out having fun or you're binging on Netflix. Try to save those slip minutes for later in the semester when you're really under the gun with many courses. So try not to get ahead of the game here. Save your slip minutes for when you really need them. Midterms, again, another safety valve here. We have 2 midterms, and we weight them for your higher grade. So across the 2 midterms, whichever midterm you do better on is worth 18% of your final grade. Whichever midterm you do less well on is only worth 12% of your final grade. Okay, and that's true for everyone in the class. So if you have a bad test day on one of the midterms, it's okay. It's not going to count as much for your exam as the other day you take a midterm. That said, I would also encourage you to keep an eye on the drop date for the course. The biggest reason I find students at Berkeley don't do well and get stressed out is because they're taking too many classes. I encourage you, before the drop date for the semester, consider how busy are you? Do you need to be taking all the courses you're taking? And think about dropping either this course or another course if you feel like you can't do your best given the schedule that you have. Final thing I want to say is, if you're feeling stressed, I really encourage you to reach out. Berkeley has lots of resources right here on campus to help you if you're feeling stress, if you're under stress. This is not an uncommon phenomenon for undergrads at Berkeley, especially in computer science and electrical engineering. And there are really people to help you. You're not alone. Okay, the course staff is also here for you. Don't hesitate to come to us individually during office hours to have some quiet time to talk to us about your stress. And I guess what I'd say also is that if you're genuinely dealing with health issues, whether they're mental health or physical health issues, there's always a way to deal with that here at the university. One thing that's always an option, for example, is to take an incomplete in the class if a health issue comes up mid-semester and you find you can't complete the semester, and then you can do the work in a future semester. Of course, incompletes aren't ideal because they postpone the inevitable. You'll have to do the work sometime. But if you have an unusual incident, whether it's mental health, physical health, or so on, family issues, don't hesitate to come talk to me or the TAs about the possibility of an incomplete. And just to summarize all this, I think the staff's perspective on this, both myself and the TAs, is that we want you to learn and we want you to succeed in the class. That's our goal. And the only constraint on that is we need things to be fair. For the many, many students taking this class, we're going to need to stick to some rules to ensure that everybody's got an equal sort of deal in the class. So please don't come to us with exceptional requests unless those requests are based on something substantive, like a health issue or a family issue, religious issue, and so on. So it should be one of the issues that the university recognizes as an issue that would cause us to change the rules, okay? And you can consult university resources if you want some guidance, or just feel free to come talk to me and ask me what's reasonable. But try not to nickel and dime the staff with requests for special treatment if really you just need to sit down and do the work. Final note, staying in touch. All class communication should be via Piazza. Here's the link to this semester's Piazza website. Announcements and discussions will be there. You should read it regularly, every day. Any questions or any comments that you have on the class should go to Piazza. Okay? And by the way, answer each other's questions. The TAs are not expected to answer every question on Piazza. It's very appropriate and in fact encouraged for you folks to be answering each other's questions. And sometimes we may wait a little bit to answer one of your questions while we're waiting for some of your fellow students to pitch in and answer for you. Okay? Do not send direct email to myself or to the TAs. This is not a good idea and will likely not get answered unless your question is of a sensitive nature. Obviously, if you need to reach out on a personal basis and it's really not appropriate to do so even with a private post on Piazza, then send an email. But generally speaking, email to the staff is not encouraged. Questions should be on Piazza. Most questions, there will be other people who want to hear the answers. So if you have a question of clarification, probably someone else wants to hear the answer. So try to post those publicly. Piazza is really the right place for communication for the course. And that's it. That's the end of the intro here. I will see you, or you will see me anyway, here on edX over the course of the next many lectures. Hope you enjoy the course.